Welcome to Sources of Magic. Thank you for joining us. I'm wanting to do a visualization today for you, just to show what I have done in the past regarding forest fires. We are coming up to the spring, summertime where it's potential that it could be an issue again after a few dry summers and a dry winter. So I just wanted to show what I have done in the past as a visualization to help minimize the spread of the fires. It is my belief that if something exists, it is allowed to exist. I just believe that that is a natural law of life. So that I'm not fighting. What I'm trying to fight is the spread of it. So we're keeping it minimal, that yeah, you are allowed to exist, but only here. So we're just creating a boundary basically for it, which is allowed. We're allowed to create boundaries. So for fire, I have in the past attempted to visualize covering this with dirt. So covering it with mounds of black dirt. And when I'm watching on the news, over the next 2, 3, 4 days, the fire is still burning. So that didn't help. I had also tried water, having my own visualization of having my own water plane and dropping bombs of water on it, or having a river created in it, having buckets of water. And 1 or 2 or 3 days after, the forest fire was still on the news and it was still spreading. Maybe it was a bit less, but it was not responding. And then I thought, well, let's fight fire with fire, because firefighters, they do sometimes create negative space, right? So they build a fire around the fire here and burn it towards the other fire, so that when they meet, there's nothing to burn but itself, right? So it just burns out. And I thought, let's try that. Let's visualize that. So that's what I started doing, and it within like 15 to 48 hours, I noticed on the news that the fire was maintaining. It was holding at a certain area of burn. It was not expanding. And I thought, that's perfect. And then within the 12 hours, normally it would be totally under control and there was no more worry, and they were maintaining it and it was being put out. So I thought, that's the ticket. That's what I'm going to use every time. So what I use in my mind's eye is I use Archangel Michael's Blue Flame. So that's what I do. So I create its border around it, and we're just going to use paint today just for a visual. So all I really do is create a border around the fire. And I got some nice colors to use so that we can mimic the flame, right? Now with the fire and with Archangel Michael's fire, Archangel Michael has a very prominent, domineering character about him. He is one energy of like the tough dad, right? That's his energy, because he's the protector, he is the caretaker, and he just has a very masculine energy about him. So when I use his flame to help protect and border the other flame, I also want to adopt or adapt his energy of that as well. So being female, the energy that mimics that form of energy to me reminds me a lot of anger. And every emotion has a place, it has a purpose, and for me, that is what anger's purpose is. It is to alarm you that there is a need for protection. It is also to get your self-confidence going, right? So that it surpasses your insecurities and helps you push through. So anger has a purpose, and we're going to use it here. So when I'm creating the boundaries and I am preparing to push Archangel Michael's flame into the existing forest fire flame, I'm using my solar plex, so my center of personal power, strength, and self-confidence. So that's where this energy is coming from. It's also coming a little bit from my heart chakra as well, because my intent is for this to be minimized, for there to be less damage, and that I truly care that the planet does potentially need this forest fire. However, I just want the earth to know that it's okay to have it small. It's okay to have it localized and not to spread. That you can have the little outburst, or you can have the clearing of forest, or if that area is excessively hot and you need a vent, then you can absolutely have that. But just keep it small. Such as real life, right? When we're having arguments with people, same philosophy. So I have created my border of the flame, and what I do in my mind's eye is just with my hands, we're just pushing it in. So with my solar plex, I'm just expelling this energy. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to expel the flame. Okay, we're just going to push, and we're going to connect again and expel. So we're pushing through. So you know those 3D pictures they have, and they were in the malls, and you can see the picture here is a whole bunch of tiny little pictures, and it looks all blurry. But if you look through, like past to the ground, to your toes, or through to the next wall, all of a sudden this picture of like a rabbit or like a hockey team kind of comes off of the paper. That's the same energy we use with distant healing, and it's the same energy we use with pushing through. So we're not looking here. Where I'm looking is way over here, right? So we're pushing forward. Okay, that's what we're doing. Pushing forward. Good. And pushing forward as well. There we go. So we've got our forest fire kind of covered. There we are. So that is our forest fire covered. So I have taken Archangel Michael's flame and I have just pushed it into the fire. Okay. Now in your visualization, you could have resistance from the forest fire. You could have visions. You could have messages. There's a whole bunch of stuff that comes up, and that's to decipher later. We're just working with how to diminish the fire from spreading. That's all we're doing. So now that I have pushed the flame in and I have sat with it for as long as I felt needed for that forest fire, now what we're going to do is we're going to start to diminish Archangel Michael's flame. Okay, we don't want to leave it burning. He needs that back. That's his power and his gift. So we're going to thank him for that. And then we're going to bring the fire back and then out. Okay, so I'm just going to use the other end. So we're going to start in the middle, and we're just bringing the power back towards us. So we're on top of the hill, we are fighting fire, we are on the high, but now we're just going to diminish and cool the energy down, and we're going to bring the energy back to its source. Okay, so we're again looking through the paper, we're looking through the fire, because we're working through something. And now we're going to pull backwards and just have a nice, easy emotion. Good. And then we're going to just push this through. And we're just pushing through, diminishing. That's what we're doing. We're just settling it down. Good, lovely. Good. And we can do it the other ways too if we want. Lovely. So we have now brought our energy back to our border, and then what we would do is we would just sit with it for a minute and we would just ease the energy. Okay, and what a good concept to show energy transfer, hey? So we would just ease the energy. Great. And then once we feel that there is our blue flame is diminished and either disappeared because we are offering it back to Archangel Michael for his use, we could then sit with our energy just over top, and we can give thanks for the ability and the honor of being able to use his gifts so freely. And thank you for his efforts, his work, his skill, his knowledge, anything you want in this moment. Great. All right. So that's what I visualize when I'm working with forest fires. So do give it a try and see what your results are. Let me know, and we will hopefully help to heal the world, because after this, when I've taken away the flame and realized that potentially the earth has a hot spot there, potentially the earth had a request of why that forest fire needed to exist, I would then proceed forward with those messages. So if the earth had a hot spot, that would be my response to that would be to use less of something. So less energy, less consumables, less materials, walk to work, take the bus, that kind of thing. So I would give and sacrifice of my ways to reduce the heat in the earth, because hot means that energy is needed there, love is needed there, right? A transfer of love is needed there. So I would respond in that way so that the earth would have less need to have outbursts like that, or less need to respond in that way. All right, have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me.